This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm Andrew.
What? Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real AI talk this week with your non-AI pals. And yeah, we're going to be focused on AI this week. There's been a lot going on. We haven't talked about it in a while. Laura's going to take a political angle.
Of course.
Pam and I are going to do, of course. She's like, oh, there's a political angle. I was like, oh, yeah, of course you want to talk about that.
That's good. That's what I'm here for, right?
Laura's always here to bring the mood down.
I know. That's the thing. I'm here to tell you the things that you don't want to hear about, but that are really important for you to pay attention to and try to make it fun, kind of.
That's a good answer. Fun. Me and Pam, when we're planning episodes, Pam and I are always like, let's talk about sunshine and rainbows and cute bunnies. And Laura's like, let's talk about war and suffering.
And that is why I give Laura the most credit, because she has the hardest job out of the three of us.
There are definitely like even in planning for this one, I was like, I do not want to be monologuing. So I put in conversation questions. So I think we're good.
Well, let me start the monologuing today. So
go for it.
I wanted to share some AI related updates from big tech in recent months. Let's start with OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT. In their spring updates, about a month or so ago, they launched an updated version of ChatGPT itself called ChatGPT 4.0, and they showed off some really impressive new features, there's no doubt about it, including the ability to ask ChatGPT to be a live translator between two people. And I'm going to play a demo now. It's really cool.
And every time you hear English, I want you to translate it to Italian. And if you hear Italian, I want you to translate it back to English. Is that good?
Perfetto. Mark, io mi chiedo se le balene potessero parlare, cosa ci direbbero?
Mike, she wonders if whales could talk, what would they tell us?
They might ask, how do we solve linear equations?
Potrebbero chiederci come risolviamo le equazioni lineari.
Sicuramente sì.
So ChatGPT is basically acting as a live translator between two people. So imagine traveling with this and you just say, hey, ChatGPT, let's go translate for me and this person who only speaks German. I mean, that would be incredible to have as you explore the world. But also, this is pretty bad news for translators. This seems to work really well.
But you know what? There's never enough translators. And I can tell you that from experience. Even in California, when I was in high school, right, as soon as I was old enough, I always knew I wanted to volunteer at the hospital. Little 14-year-old Pam translating because they didn't have enough translators at the hospital. I'm talking like things I should not be translating as a 14-year-old. Them having me go up to like pre-op with only Spanish-speaking patients and being like, this is what you take off. The doctor will be in. You can put it here. This is what they're doing to you.
Yeah. But ChatGPT can't do that?
Well, they can. But that's what I'm saying is that, like, you're saying it's bad news for translators. I'm saying that I think you're overestimating how many translators there really are. Like, I think that we need more translators and there's hardly ever enough. And that's why you have like certain situations, especially like with like children that are like whose parents are first generation. Like this is going to be a huge help for them. They're not going to have to like sit there and translate like legal jargon or like any kind of jargon. But then also like it's going to be like such a great way for non-English speaking people to advocate for themselves and know that their words aren't getting twisted as well when there aren't translators on hand, or when there are translators on hand, but they're not doing a good job of translating. So I actually think that this is good news.
I agree. I think it's a really good tool for everyone to be able to confidently make themselves understood. Insofar as it being bad news for translators, I don't know that I agree with that, because it sounded great, but bear in mind, they are going to choose very specific examples to showcase the AI's ability to translate. And those particular grammatical structures, like if it could, what would it do? Those are very intermediate concepts in terms of knowing a second language. So what I'm interested to see is how complex can AI get on this front. It's not saying that it could never reach a point of complexity, but I think it's really worth pointing out that they chose English and Italian for a reason. There's a reason they didn't choose English and Arabic, as Liza in our Discord is pointing out. It will take them way longer to figure out how to make this work for Arabic, which is just a more complicated language than a Germanic language like English or a Romance language like Italian. So I think it's just worth having that context in mind.
That's all fair. For the record, I was not saying all translators are going away tomorrow. It's just this is a first step towards something that is going to evolve over time and just presumably get better and better.
Sure.
So ChatGPT 4.0 can also help you with things that you show it using your phone's camera, which is pretty cool, like a handwritten math problem, or it can read your emotions, or it can help tell you if you dressed well for a date, which I don't know if I would want to trust a bot with something that's kind of higher stakes like that. I'd trust it with math more than I think if I look well dressed. Or you can say things like, I'm about to give a public speech right now, give me some tips, and it'll kind of walk you through it. And fun fact about this spring update that they did, OpenAI actually caught shit for this event because the voice of the bot sounded like Scarlett Johansson, who is the voice of the robot in the movie Her. And later, Scarlett said that ChatGPT approached her twice about using her voice in ChatGPT, presumably for demos just like this, and she had told them no. But despite that, they seem to have and I don't know if you two noticed, but it sounded like Her in the movie Her. So they go forward with it anyway. And to make matters worse for OpenAI, their CEO, Sam Altman, even tweeted the same day they did this demo, just Her, basically implicating them as using her voice in these demos, even when she said no. And she released the statement. You can check it out online if you want. But she's pissed, and she should be. And it's like another self-inflicted wound for OpenAI. So kind of embarrassing for them. So let's move to Google. They have, this is really frustrating, at least in my opinion. They have rolled out an AI assistant across all Google searches. You did not need to opt in, and they just forced it on everyone, and you'll see it appear at the top of the search results as if this is like such a reliable tool to be using that it deserves to be in spot one on Google. So basically you ask it some sort of question like, can I make pizza with glue as an ingredient? And it'll give you an answer. That exact query was something that somebody tried, and Google was telling people that, yes, you should use glue in pizza to make the cheese stick.
Oh my God.
Google had sourced this suggestion from a comment by someone named Fucksmith on a very old Reddit thread. Fucksmith was joking.
Oh, wow. Man. Really? You couldn't tell by the name?
Well, yes, fair enough. But this is a problem. We spoke on the show months ago about how people have been appending Reddit to the end of their search queries on Google because they want to see the Google answers. Google has been threatened by Reddit, so they made a licensing deal with Reddit to source Reddit for data to build their LLM, their new chatbot. And then it's pulling stuff like this. Fucksmith saying you can use glue on pizza. It's like it's come back to bite them in the ass.
Oh, man. I just think about all of the depraved subreddits that exist out there. And just imagine Google's AI pulling from that. It's incredible.
It's crazy that it's like, I mean, AI is getting so sophisticated, but they still can't differentiate between like what is sarcasm, what's a joke, what is fact. You know, the reason that we can tack on Reddit to the end of a question when we Google something is because if Fucksmith's Reddit post comes up, we all know that you can't actually use glue to put, you know, make sure the cheese sticks or whatever the question was, right?
Yeah.
But AI cannot.
We can detect sarcasm. One day AI might be able to, but right now, clearly, it can't. Now, Google released a statement because the story went viral and they were like, oh, you know, this is a very out of left field question. When things like this pop up, we'll take care of it. And now if you try to search, you won't see this. But they're going to have to play whack-a-mole now. Somebody's going to discover something insane that Google AI is telling people, and then Google has to go and take care of it manually. It's going to be a major pain in the ass.
Oh my God.
And you just know that there are going to be trolls on the internet, like whole subreddits dedicated to fucking shit up for Google AI.
I was just saying, I'm sensing a challenge.
I know, right?
Lots of fucksmiths out there.
If it doesn't exist already, it will soon.
Well, so here are some of the other things that Google AI has been telling people. Again, this is appearing at the top of search results. Now, some people have been trying to screw with it, but Google should not release this to everybody across the world when it's clearly not ready for prime time. So Google has told people they should eat at least one small rock a day. Running with scissors has health benefits. A dog has played in the NHL. Batman is a cop. Use gasoline to cook spaghetti. Parachutes are no more effective than backpacks, and cats will lick you to see if you are suitable for consumption. But again, this is something they were sourcing from Reddit, and somebody was just joking on Reddit.
That's funny.
I've noticed this popping up when I've been Googling things organically, specifically in like the last week or so. So I don't know how long it's been out, but I just have noticed it recently. And it has been kind of throwing me off because even though I'll skim that, I'll just be like, I feel like this is like not the right information that I need. So I'm still going past that to look at what other people have said. And it's simple shit. Like I couldn't think of like, oh, well, like I was talking in the pre-show about how my back just went out. And one of my friends was saying like, don't put heat on your back because you could mess it up even more. And so I think I Googled like, why is it bad to put heat when your back goes out? And I didn't like the first answer that Google AI gave me. So I went past that anyway, you know, so it's not even doing its job. And that's supposed to be like a really basic question. That should be a very basic question.
You don't trust it. I don't trust it. Same thing. Like I'm looking past the AI overview, as it's called, right at the top, because I want to know where they're sourcing this from. And they do show you the sources, so then you could click in. But still, it's getting stuff wrong quite a bit.
Yeah, which I think is to be expected in the beginning of something like this. But that's why you should have it as an optional beta. Like, why am I subjected to this?
And it was, but it's still not ready for prime time, clearly.
Right.
And we'll get to why they're forcing this and other tools on us from other big tech in a couple minutes. But speaking of big tech, all of Meta's products now have an AI chatbot in them, and I'm sure most people have seen these already. I think a prime example is now when you go into Instagram search, there's the Meta assistant or whatever that they're trying to get you to work with. Yeah, Meta AI. So you tap the search bar, and then it's giving you all these suggested chats to have with Meta AI. Advice for career development. Boost my memory with a game. Tips for home renovation. Plan an epic bike tour. I am in the Instagram search to find somebody. I'm not there to plan an epic bike tour. Like, what the fuck? And they force this everywhere.
Yeah. And to that point, you can't even opt out of it if you're just trying to look for one person's profile and then they give you all these other searches. It's like, I just wanted to go to this person's page. Why are you making it so hard?
Right. I started typing LAU for Laura and it's suggesting, oh, you're searching for laughing baby videos. No. No.
Do I make you think of laughing baby videos, Andrew? Is there something subliminal going on here?
Meta AI really knows what's going on with my search intent.
It knows the deepest, darkest secrets you have within you. You just don't know yet.
I want laughing Laura. That's
Laughing
all
Laura.
I want. It's just
Well, that's
doesn't.
easy.
And now I'm laughing. Ooh. It's just so, now you go on Facebook and you'll see these AI summaries under posts, like mainly group posts, it seems like. And it summarizes how people are reacting to a story. And that's okay. But I want to see what people are actually saying. I don't want a summary of the discussion being had in a Facebook group. It's just junking up the feed even more. These feeds are already a mess as it is.
It's not the same thing, but I feel similar about the sort of compilation reviews that you see on Amazon, where it'll be like an AI generated compilation of all the reviews. And I'm just like, this doesn't help me. I want to see what actual people are saying about this because they've touched this thing or they've used it or they just know like what the pitfalls or the pros and cons are. Like the AI doesn't know that.
The only one I like is the one that says like, this is a frequently returned item. That's the only helpful one.
That one's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that even like to an extent, this is all AI on different levels, but that to me seems more like a simple like, oh, Amazon has noticed this gets a lot of returns, so they feel like they should notify customers. Like, but yeah, that is super helpful. I'm not sure I find any AI summary particularly helpful. And moving on to Apple, and actually Google is going to be doing this too, if they're not already. They announced actually just this week that it's coming to Gmail very soon. Gmail and Apple are going to start summarizing your emails. I guess that can be helpful, but again, it's like a trust thing. And Apple just a couple weeks ago announced iOS 18. This is their big annual software update, and they're calling it Apple Intelligence, AI for the rest of us, which honestly, that's kind of a good line. AI for the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have a lot of assistant type features like summarizing mail, summarizing text messages, stuff like that. There's too much to list. It's a lot of stuff we've heard about already from other companies, but it will be able to ask ChatGPT for help. They have struck a deal with ChatGPT, and they have teased that they might partner with other organizations too, like Google, who has Gemini, which is their big AI product. Now, notably, Apple will ask you permission to call ChatGPT each time it can't come up with its own answer, which will be a way to show people that Apple is not responsible for any possible nonsense that you get from ChatGPT. And ChatGPT answers will also be labeled as such. So this is Apple admitting, too, they don't fully trust ChatGPT. And I think we've all been there, right? Where ChatGPT has said something wrong to us when we've asked it a question.
Oh, yeah.
Confidently wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the thing.
I tried to use ChatGPT to kind of get get the ball rolling on like putting together an episode on Fourth Wing. And they kept trying to insist that like the main character's name was Jenny. I was like, there's no fucking Jenny in this book. Like, what are you on?
I'm still Jenny from the block.
Wow, that couldn't be.
It was insane. It was so bad.
That couldn't be more wrong.
Did it even know?
And I was like, this is why a human should do, just like, don't send a robot to do a job I could do on my own. Just like, get out of here, Pamela. Go do it on yourself.
Did it even know details about Fourth Wing? Like the plot?
It did, but like some of it was wrong. I don't know if it's been fixed by this point. This was months ago now. So maybe they've worked out whatever that bug was, but it was really odd. And it was very generic. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this is like the number one best-selling book right now. ChatGPT should definitely be able to give me a quick summary about fourth weighing that I could then use as a stepping stone to create my own summary.
I think this is why Jenna just brought this up, and I was just about to say this too. ChatGPT is trained on older data. So if you're asking something about present day, it doesn't do as well. Now, that said, I just said summarize Fourth Wing the novel, and it did produce an accurate summary and does call Violet, not Jenny from the block.
Okay, so it's been fixed since, I don't know, that must have been like back in November, December.
Yeah, this is ChatGPT 4.0, so it's probably a whole different data set. Oh, here we go. So I just switched to ChatGPT 3.5. Fourth Wing is a novel by Canadian author M.E. Reid set in a fictional university town. And the lead character is Mary Ann. So don't trust any data from ChatGPT unless it's ChatGPT 4.0. I think that's the lesson we're getting now. So this is all a mess. It's all being forced on us. Like I said, the Google and the Meta examples I think are the worst right now. So why are they forcing these tools on us? And I think it is quite simply that their shareholders are dying to see these companies innovate in AI, and they're rushing out these products so they look like they're down with the AI times, but it's coming at the expense of users because we're being given these half-baked features, and what they run the risk of is turning us off from AI before it's fully ready. But they got to give it to us now because they got to look like they're ahead of all the other big tech companies. We're being told by big tech, trust this now, accept it now in your everyday life. Instead of searching for Laura, search for laughing babies. You will like it. And it's like, no, I don't. You don't get me at all.
You don't like laughing babies? What's wrong with you?
Not in Instagram, maybe TikTok, but not Instagram. Okay, so we will talk about deepfake porn in a moment. There's been some pushback from Capitol Hill on that front. Pam will tell us about that. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
So over in DC, lawmakers are also taking note of AI, but specifically they're looking to the issue of deepfake porn, which is something that we've touched on very lightly in the past as part of our AI discussions on this show. But it looks like some senators are really looking to put a stop to it now and kind of taking it a bit more seriously than we have seen in the past. It's probably also because, according to NBC News, deepfake porn production has increased by 463% in the last year. So it's no surprise that lawmakers are kind of using this as a platform to, stand on. Currently, there are actually two different bipartisan bills aimed at targeting deepfake porn circulating in the Senate. And the first one is titled the Disrupt Explicit Forged Images and Non-Consensual Edits Act. This is sponsored by the Democratic Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, and it would allow victims to sue people who held, created, possessed, or distributed the AI images in question. It was stricken down when he brought it to the Senate floor for being a little bit too broad. So it's going to be interesting to see if he decides to rework that with his team or not. But like I said, there is another bipartisan bill that's also circulating right now over there. So the second one is actually called the Take It Down Act, and this is sponsored by Ted Cruz, Republican over out in Texas, who we're all very familiar with. So this bill actually seeks to hold social media companies accountable for policing and removing deepfake porn images that are published on their sites. And per the bill, social media platforms would have to develop a process for removing the images in question within 48 hours of receiving a valid request from victims. And sites would also be required to make a reasonable effort to remove any other copies, including those shared in private groups. So this is like a little bit more strong language, I think, and it'll be interesting to see if this gains any steam.
Yeah, it's nice to see that these acts are coming together now rather than a few years from now, knowing how slowly Congress moves, especially when it comes to the internet. So strictly for research purposes, honest to God, I have not seen deepfake porn before, but strictly for research purposes today, I reviewed some celeb deepfake porn on these websites that seem to be dedicated to this subject matter. For example, I went to deepfucks.com and my ISP actually tried to stop me from going in because of security concerns. Deepfucks, I guess, is a play on deepfakes, which kind of clever. I looked at them like they're okay. They're not as convincing as I was expecting. And you can kind of tell that they are deep fakes because the face gets a little warped on the real adult actor's face. I don't know who gets off on this knowing that it's a deep fake. That doesn't seem appealing to me, but I guess it's all fantasy anyways.
Well, I guess it's good for you that Dick Durbin's bill kind of flopped and didn't go anywhere, because they could have come for you, Andrew.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you would have had to be like, I was researching.
I was doing research for a podcast. I'm a newsman. Did I hold the video? I viewed the video. I guess did I possess the video? What is possessing a video in the year 2024 on the
That's
internet?
That's probably why this got struck down again, for just like the broad sense of the language used. Although I do think people should be allowed to sue, but maybe just like the creator, not the people that are passing it around.
Maybe I implicated myself by saying my ISP tried to warn me to not visit the site, and I said, let me in anyway.
There you go. Yeah, they get that subpoena. Dick Durbin shows up at your front door with a subpoena.
Yeah.
And that's how they get you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that happens, right?
Of course. It's a one-man show. So, Andrew, to your point about how, like, you're wondering who actually really wants to see this stuff, it turns out it's actually quite a bit of people. There was actually a recent incident of a celebrity that was targeted by AI porn deepfakes, and it was actor Jacob Elordi, who some of you might know from HBO's Euphoria, or also Saltburn, which had a big cultural moment earlier this year. According to NBC, posts of his deepfakes were viewed more than 3 million times on Twitter. And so that really shows how fast these things spread and how interested people are to see these images or videos, even though they know that they're fake for whatever reason. But this case is actually particularly disturbing because the deepfake allegedly features the body of a minor. And the minor in question is a Brazil-based OnlyFans creator who took to Twitter to confirm that it's his body, and also to point out that he was 17 when the video was recorded. So yeah, that's another thing to kind of like consider, I guess, if you're out there seeking these things out, or you're wondering why lawmakers are looking to put a stop to this, because you don't even know whose body is being used to create this stuff, and whether or not that body was filmed with consent or without consent. So it's twofold.
That is the tricky thing about porn too, but that's a whole other discussion. Like, you don't really know when you're going on these porn sites or Pornhub.
And
you can take a guess, like, oh, that daddy is clearly 55 years old here on FamilyDick.com. There's no way that person is a minor.
Right.
And didn't Pornhub also like make headlines a few years ago for, aren't they trying to like combat non-consensual porn that is being uploaded by like only allowing verified accounts to upload and stuff like that? I want to say I remember that headline, and then they like scrapped, like they scraped like their entire website almost, and it's not as extensive as it used to be because of that.
Well, they've also been shutting themselves off in certain states because lawmakers have been passing bills in which they're requiring an age check before visiting a site like Pornhub.
Also, really quickly, I will say it'll be interesting to see, like, with this Ted Cruz bill specifically, what happens in the case of Twitter, because they also just announced that they're going to let porn fly over there. So they might actually walk that back, because if something like this Take It Down Act passes, it's going to be really hard for them to police what's real and what's not.
I guess, but porn's always been on Twitter. Like,
yeah, but they're just not going to ban it anymore. I guess, like, it can still get taken down once they find out that it's there.
Yeah. But does that really address the root problem if you're in a purely reactive position of saying you just have to take it down within 48 hours of a valid report, which I'm like, okay, what constitutes a valid report?
Yeah. How long is the valid report going to take? That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we definitely want to keep this AI ball moving, specifically when we look forward to this November's election, the thing that I know everyone is just so fucking excited for.
Wait, I want to talk about AI bunnies instead and AI rainbows.
Remember, y'all, we've chatted about this a couple of times, but back on season 9, episode 10, we predicted that AI, specifically voice AI, would be of significant concern in the upcoming election. Well, it is happening. So earlier this year, during the New Hampshire Democratic primaries, there were a couple of different AI-generated robocalls using a voice that bore a significant likeness to that of Joe Biden, encouraging voters not to vote in the primary and to instead hold their vote for the election in November. Andrew, can you play that for us?
It's important that you save your vote for the November election. Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans in their quest to elect Donald Trump again.
Sounds like him.
Yeah. And last month, the FCC actually proposed a $6 million fine for these illegal robocalls. They were traced back to a couple of Texas-based companies, and they have been indicted on this. So we'll just have to see if the FCC's proposed fine sticks. I think 6 million sounds low, honestly.
Yeah, but what I'm worried about are the calls coming from international countries.
Yep.
They're not going to give a shit about any fines. I mean, when we get telemarketing calls, a lot of those are coming from overseas too.
Yeah, that's a good
partly
point.
because they're circumventing the rules in this country.
What were you going to say, Pam?
No, I agree with Andrew. That's a really good point. It's kind of putting a Band-Aid on a much larger issue.
Well, for something fun that came out of my home state, here in Georgia, we had a House bill that would have established criminal offense for election interference via the use of deepfakes. It did pass our state House, but it ultimately stalled out in our state Senate. But the funny thing was, Senator Colton Moore was a vocal opponent of this bill, meaning he vocally opposed the idea of passing a bill saying that it should be a criminal offense to interfere with an election with AI deepfakes. He was against it. So State Representative Todd Jones, by the way, these are both Republicans. Todd Jones used voice AI to create an endorsement of the bill using Colton Moore's voice, just to make a point.
Amazing.
Thank you, Mallory. This is Senator Colton Moore, chairman of the Georgia Freedom Caucus. I know that I don't always see eye to eye with many of you. Luckily, by the power of AI, I am here to speak in favor of a Republican bill, proof that miracles do happen. HB 986 is a great bill that addresses one of the single most imminent threats to our election integrity. It creates a crime to upload materially deceptive media with the knowledge of its falsity and the intent to influence an election, create confusion about the administration of an election, or to influence a referendum. The media addressed in this bill includes video, audio, or images that appear to depict a real individual's speech or conduct that did not occur in reality.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it really does sound like him. This was a very convincing use of an AI-generated voice. With, my prior points about the FCC also did make it illegal to make robocalls using AI-generated deepfakes, but to y'all's point, that doesn't really matter in every other country in the world that may want to influence us. Just think about the number of Social Security automated scams that we all get. I'm sure that those are some of the things that come to mind. But this next one that I'm going to chat about here briefly just reached a level of ridiculousness that I had not anticipated seeing out of AI deepfakes. And I will say John Oliver actually covered this one on his show, and that's where I learned about it. GOP congressional candidate Anthony Hudson posted an AI deepfake of Martin Luther King Jr. endorsing him
What?
in his upcoming race.
I have another dream. Yes, it is me, Martin Luther King. I came back from the dead to say something. As I was saying, I have another dream. That Anthony Hudson will be Michigan's 8th district's next congressman. Yes, I have a dream again. Okay, now I am going back to where I came from. Goodbye.
My name is Anthony Hudson, and I approve this message.
Oh, thank you for approving the fake words of MLK.
Oh, man.
I hope he got sued by the MLK estate.
I don't know. He ended up putting out a statement and being like, this was deeply offensive, and took it down and everything. But it was, I cried, and I'm even crying right now.
I'm going back to where I came.
Like,
think of a better way to end the endorsement.
I know. I was like, so I want to know, was that one like a text to speech AI thing? So did somebody verbatim write that script?
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
But who would write, I'm going back where I came from?
Why would they pay to post that? It costs so much money for these ads to run, too, to Laura's point. Like, they couldn't get a better writer.
Oh,
Yikes.
man. Yes. And I will say, just to wrap up here on the examples, it's not just happening in the US. There was a case in March of a robocall using the voice of a Slovakian presidential candidate, calling Slovakians and making claims of rigging the polls and raising the cost of beer.
Oh, wow.
So there's that. I mean, it definitely happened recently to the UK's prime minister, where there was a robocall impersonating his voice. So it's definitely not just a US problem. It's a global issue for sure. But I wanted to ask y'all, have the amount of AI deepfakes with regard to politics been more or less than what we thought they'd be?
In a strange way, I feel like I thought we would have more by now. And specifically,
I think so too.
But to be fair, it hasn't really heated up yet as much as it will. Like, I think it's going to start heating up a lot in July. So like in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I really feel like once the conventions happen,
I agree.
It's going to get ugly. That's what I'm worried about.
I mean, I think the last time we talked about this, I was mostly concerned about like video, right? Like AI video, deepfake videos, which are also getting really, really convincing. And that's even harder to convince people of the fact that it's fake, right? Or that it's been spliced in a certain way. I didn't even think about just the audio alone and how much that could really mess things up. But you raise a good point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess maybe they want to wait until the election is much closer so they can sow as much chaos as possible right before election day or right before voting by mail starts. And I think that also puts the social media networks into a tough spot because then they have to scramble to take care of all the misinformation and all the AI use, and they won't have enough time to play whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
But hopefully these social media companies and, again, big tech are thinking about this in advance. I think one actual example of seeing some steps being put in place already is now on Instagram, photos will be labeled made with AI. But Instagram has been incorrectly identifying photos as made with AI. And this is already causing problems. I know somebody who is also a podcaster who got engaged last week. He posted very real photos of his engagement, but Instagram labeled them as made by AI. Those are his engagement photos.
Is it just like anytime a photo gets edited, they're slapping the made with AI label? So if you put a filter on a photo, it's made with AI.
That's the thing. But where is that line? They're going to have to move the line because every photo is manipulated. Photographers edit photos all the time.
Well, yeah.
So they got to move the boundaries a little bit because right now it's way too presumptuous.
Yeah. Ask Kate Middleton.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That was bad. Actually, that's a good segue into the point that I was going to make. I just I think that they should look to how news has traditionally decided what constitutes as a real photograph and what is unethical because it's been far too edited. I think that that's a good place to start, especially if they're going to be slapping this label on things, Wonder what's going to happen to all the influencers that love using Facetune. I mean, that should be slapped with, the AI label.
That's unhealthy for people to see
that's
from
way
couple
different from
perspectives.
somebody going in and using the Paris filter. I like using the Paris filter on Instagram stories.
Right.
That's not super crazy.
To keep us moving along here, I was just wondering if we could revisit this amazing, totally not AI generated endorsement we got from Joe Biden a year ago, just to remind people that we have the president on speed dial here.
That's so exciting. Yeah.
I'm pretty darn angry that more people aren't tuning into Millennial. This podcast is smart, informative, and barely contains any malarkey. So I earn more of you listening. Let me be clear. If you're not listening to Millennial, you're missing out. And if you're not supporting them, then shame on you. We need to do better as a country. And that means supporting the voices that are out there fighting for change. So come on, folks. Let's get it together. Listen to Millennial. Support them at Pan Young. Come, Millennial, and let's build a better America.
Savara, I forgot about that
lost
moment.
it a little bit at the end there, but still better than Anthony Hudson's MLK deepfake. So,
yeah. And that's how easy it is. That's the thing. I think and I did that shit for free. I did not spend money on that. It is so easy to put this stuff together. And we just have to, I think, have, scrutiny in mind as we're watching content that might seem to be controversial coming from any kind of politician. You first have to ask yourself, is this AI? Because that's the world we live in now, unfortunately. And this one that we just shared, it wasn't a very good one even. But if you didn't know very much about AI or that was possible, I think you could be convinced.
Oh, yeah. Think about older generations. They are frequently scammed over the phone, asking for money, all that, and they fall for it because they think it really is their child. You can see something like this being pumped through to phones across rural Pennsylvania, and people are convinced that Joe or Trump are saying things when they never said these things at all, or telling them things that just aren't true.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, what do we predict we'll see between now and the election in terms of AI deepfakes?
I'm going to be evil and share what I want to see happen. I want fakes of Trump using the N-word, as has been reported happening during the filming of The Apprentice. I want more fawning over Putin. I want him talking more shit on veterans. And the thing about these is that everybody knows he would or isn't above these items. So people could hear them, maybe see them on deepfucks.com and be convinced that this is really Trump.
Yeah, I agree. I think the concern that I have with regards to Trump is that now he has a convenient scapegoat for any piece of bad press that comes out about him related to a prior piece of recorded audio or video. Imagine if the AI conversation had been, where it is now, back in 2016 when the Access Hollywood tape leaked. He would have gone all in on saying this is AI, it's fake. He already kind of tried to do something like that. It just fell flat and wasn't as believable because we weren't having this national dialogue that we're having now. So that's what I worry about with him, is just like, it's going to be easy for him to play the denial game.
Well, and also easy to fabricate clips, right? Because he could just go back in and say, actually, I said this, and here's the clip.
Yeah. Or, fabricate clips of Joe Biden saying that he weaponized his Department of Justice against political foes, right? Or that he used it to pardon Hunter Biden, even though he didn't, There are all sorts of possibilities. But while we're talking about Joe Biden, there is someone in the studio with us right now. I think I see someone with an ice cream cone and some aviator glasses on.
Oh, no.
Andrew, can you give him the mic? It looks like he's back.
Yeah, hold on.
Listen up, folks. It's me, President Joe Biden. I'm here once again to ask you to join me in supporting Millennial Podcast. Not enough of you have followed and engaged with their socials or pledged support through their Patreon. How is Andrew supposed to maintain his newly social lifestyle of touching grass and eating ass? Do you think that Pam's hot takes or Laura's innuendos come cheap? Listen, folks, I've done a lot of heavy lifting to get our economy and infrastructure back on track, but I can't do everything. Head over to patreon.com/millennial to pledge your support today.
Wow. Well, at least he got Patreon right that time, but I think this one sounds faker than the other one.
It sounds like we're holding his ice cream cone hostage and we're making him read a script.
And he's 40 years younger.
He's a lot more subdued in this one. This is like, they didn't give him his Adderall that day, so he was
Sleepy
like
Joe.
very quiet.
Yeah.
He's Sleepy Joe.
The message is working, though. Brock, who's listening live, says, okay, I'll donate. Someone has to sponsor the ass eating. See, these messages can be effective.
Brock, you already support us.
He's going to pledge more, I think.
Right. He's going to up it by $1, and we'll make sure that dollar goes to eating ass.
The ass eating is at the $50 level.
Oh, it's so funny. Riley said Joe had a gummy.
So we are going to take a quick break, and then we have a new feature here on the show. This will probably be, I think it should be the first and last time this is used, but AI Andrew will enter the panel. So I'm glad we talked about AI Joe Biden today and all these different AI tools being forced upon us, whether we want them or not, because we here at the show use a podcast recording tool called Riverside, and it helps podcasters record their show and edit their show. We, of course, we are professionals and real good at what we do, but we use this in place of Zoom so that we can get high quality video. Riverside also offers lots of other features. We don't use them as much. However, they recently added an AI voice tool where you can re-record yourself using AI. So let's say I flub a couple sentences or I don't like how I said something. I could then punch what I wanted to say into Riverside and it'll spit out an AI version of my voice saying these things. Now, unfortunately, as of right now, it's only giving us a single AI voice, and it gave it to me, I presume, because I'm the account owner, and it's seeing Andrew in the chat logs. I don't know how it's figuring this stuff out. But anyway, of course, we had to experiment with this, right? It sounds like something that could be handy.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, so at first, I gave it a pretty easy one, and right out of the gate, it fucked it up.
Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm Andrew.
What was that?
I'm fine. The first time I played it, I thought my computer froze. It sounded like an audio glitch at the system level.
That doesn't even sound like you.
No, it doesn't.
Really? I actually thought it sounded all right. But okay,
No.
so I gave it a second chance. This one sounds like me.
I accidentally shit on my high school's floor, and then I sucked a dick in the bathroom.
And then I sucked the dick in the bathroom.
Okay, so that one did sound more like you. I will say, I feel like it's, I don't know, I feel like whatever software they're using to make this happen, I feel like it's a little messy.
Yeah.
Like your voice does not sound as crisp as I am used to it sounding over our mics.
Yeah.
It is lower quality. I would describe it as Riverside quality. Like they claim it's HD, high def, blah, blah, audio recording for podcasters who don't know how to do it properly. It's not. And how am I supposed to insert something like this into the podcast when people would notice it's taken an audio quality hit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like the first one, to Laura's point, the first one sounded too deep. It didn't sound... the pitch sounded deeper. And then the second one, it almost got it right in the first half, but it did sound tinnier than you sound.
Yeah.
So they have some work to do.
Okay. And then Pat kind of annoyed me the other day, and I was like, I can't bring myself to break up with him. So I asked AI Andrew to do it.
God.
I thought it would be better to do this over a phone call rather than texting.
I'm calling him to break up, even though he lives at home.
I wanted to let you know that I'm breaking up with you. You smoking your vape pen in bed was the final straw for me. It smelled like fucking eggs in there when I was trying to go to bed. I mean, come on, babe. There's a right and wrong place to smoke, and our bedroom oasis is one of the wrong places. Who do you think you are, Laura? We have limits in this household.
I'll pause just to say, I wanted it to say, who do you think you are, Laura?
Did you not use proper punctuation?
Oh.
I did use a comma.
No, but I think you have to do, who do you think you are? Question mark. Laura? Question mark.
I forget what I wrote exactly.
You know what? Out of all of them, this one sounded the most like you at the beginning.
That one sounded the most like you.
I think it was because it was like if you're being serious, I do think that your voice would pitch to about that level. So that's kind of freaky.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this last one is 2 minutes long, but you have to stick with it because it starts hallucinating. And I'm not going to explain why. But again, I have trouble like conveying messages and emotion. So I decided, and now this is not true, but I thought for fun, let's have ChatGPT and Riverside work together to fire Pam. So I had ChatGPT write up a firing notice. And then I asked Riverside to do AI me.
Dear Pam, I hope this message finds you well. It is with a heavy heart that I write to you today regarding your position as co-host of the Millennial podcast. First and foremost, I want to express my deepest appreciation for your contributions to the show. Your energy, insights, and dedication
who needs HR?
Have played a significant role in shaping Millennial into what it is today. Your voice has resonated with our audience, and your hard work has not gone unnoticed. However, after careful consideration and discussions with the team, we have come to the difficult decision that it is time to make some changes to the podcast direction and structure. This includes a reevaluation of our hosting team. Unfortunately, this means that we will be parting ways with you.
It's turning me Australian. Do you hear it?
Please understand that this decision was not made lightly.
Please understand.
It reflects our current strategic needs and the evolving direction of the show. We deeply value your talent and the passion you have brought to Millennial, and we are truly grateful for your dedication. We are committed to ensuring that this transition is as smooth as possible for you. We will provide a generous severance package and are more than willing to assist you in any way we can as you move forward.
Forward. It's fully Australian.
That's wild.
All right, well, this is a good time for me to leave. So
Pam's like, great, I don't have to do After Dark. Bye, bitch.
I'm sorry we had to throw you under the bus like that. But
well, no, I'm actually joking, but I've reached the mark where I was going to turn my camera off anyway.
Go for it. Pam's back is thrown out.
My back is shitty today. That I'm not actually leaving. I'm still here.
I think she just wants to cry.
Pam is a trooper.
Yeah.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh.
This is a feature they are handing out to all podcasters on Riverside. Why are they forcing this half-baked stuff on us? Leave us alone with this crap. I would never use this except for this context, making fun of it.
But also like fix the things that we want you to fix, because we've got a list, you know. We're constantly shitting on Riverside. No shade to some shade to Riverside, but you know, it's not an easy platform to work with always, and it's crazy that they're dedicating the time to doing this and not well instead of giving us what we want, like a desktop app. That'd be nice.
A good one.
A good one.
They did release one, but
Yeah.
it's nothing. It's just like the web browser.
Yeah. Or just like, how about don't have it shit the bed half the time when we're trying to connect the stream? Like that would be a really great start.
That too.
Yeah. And I give them credit for rolling out so many features, but to y'all's points, they're not focusing on taking care of their existing feature set. They're just rolling out other stuff and not paying attention to like the core product that needs help. And in fairness, they have said they've made improvements recently. I think they know they got issues, but stop. They also have this feature now where when you edit and you do this AI voice thing, it'll also move your mouth to make it look like you were talking.
That's so
saying
creepy.
these exact words.
Do y'all remember? It was like a couple years ago. I took pictures of y'all and used a really rudimentary AI editor that would make it look like you were singing or talking or saying something. And it wasn't very good. So it definitely was not passable or believable. But that was just a few years ago. Give this shit another 3 to 5 years. I think it's going to be jarring to see what it looks like.
Yeah. Just don't give it to us now. Maybe if I'm playing devil's advocate, they got to throw this all out there to help train these models. And I guess I understand that, but make it an opt-in thing, not something that's just available. Google, Meta, Riverside. What's the phrase? You're selling people a bill of false goods or whatever. Well, that's our AI chat for now. Coming up in After Dark this week, we will be calling some of our listeners again. It's been a month or two since we've done this, and we still got some numbers to surprise bitch. So we will resume calling listeners in this week's After Dark, and we'll be asking them uncomfortable questions, including but not limited to, if you could ask us to never talk about one topic ever again on the pod, what would it be? That'll be available at patreon.com/millennial this week, also through Apple Podcasts, through the Mega Millennial feed.
Visit patreon.com/millennial to pledge today. Spotify users will find a banner at the top of our show page, or Apple Podcast users can tap into the show and subscribe.
We also have other Patreon benefits like live stream access, our monthly Zoom hangout, and a new physical gift every year, and much more. It's easy to get started. Apple Podcasts and Patreon offer 7-day free trials and annual subscription discounts.
This week, I want to recommend the new Spotify Basic plan to avoid the subscription price hikes. Y'all may have heard of this recently. Spotify is raising prices again. They just did it like last year. And apparently, they didn't meet much resistance from customers, according to some reporting that I read. So they're pushing prices up again. However, there's a workaround here. Whether you have an individual plan or a family plan, there's this new basic plan that gets rid of the audiobook, the 15 hours of audiobook listening per month, but you'll get Spotify at the price you have had it at in the last few months. So this is a quiet little workaround. Just check out the plans page and you can adjust.
I just did that a few days ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the story kind of went viral. I don't think Spotify was hoping that it would.
No, they definitely rolled it out. They tried to roll it out quietly, but it caught quite a bit of steam over. I saw a bunch of people talking about it on TikTok and letting other people know, which is nice because it is frustrating. And they had just raised prices. So it was a no-brainer for me to downgrade.
I have used the audiobook hours on Spotify, but I've recently gotten more into using Libby to rent books through the library, to borrow books and audiobooks through the library, and digital books through the library. So,
and the holds come up really quick because a lot of people read on, double speed and such. And so even if a book says like there's like an 8-month wait, usually it's no more than, a couple months.
8-month wait? What books are you reading where there's an 8-month wait? My God.
Super popular bestsellers, yo.
I've only seen like a couple of weeks so far, and even that feels painful.
But also usually they'll like acquire more copies too if there's like a huge surge. So it's usually never that bad. I wanted to recommend the Marco Polo app. I don't know if you two have heard of this. My friends and I just started using it. I know that like nobody really needs another app, but basically what it allows you to do is you can send short little video messages back and forth to your friends and they don't disappear. They just stay there. And what my friends and I have been doing is using this to like keep up with each other. So at least once a week. Usually we use it more than this, but at least once a week we'll just like get on there and like update each other on our week and our lives. And we've just found that it's a nice way to catch up and keep up with each other, because it would seem like texting would be the easy answer to that. But I just feel like sometimes you promise to text more and then you don't really text unless it's like a meme or a funny TikTok or, you know, some big life event that happens. So we've been having a lot of fun using this, and you can do this with just one other person who signs up for the app too, which is free, by the way, or you can create a group. So like my friends and I have a group and we just all send the videos there. And yeah, it's the fun little way to keep up with what everyone's doing in life, especially with friends that live further away. And it's also like nice to see people's faces too, which is something that you don't get with like voice notes and stuff, but you don't actually have to plan a phone call or a FaceTime call because everybody can just do it at their own time and like watch the short clips at their own time. So yeah, I would check it out.
That seems like the coolest part to
Yeah.
me. Everything on your own time. Yeah, I love that. Hadn't heard about this.
I know. I feel like I'm going to have to download it.
Yeah.
I want to second a recommendation that Andrew gave a few weeks ago for getaway houses. This is getaway.house for their website. I went and stayed in one of these this past weekend. They're basically the IKEA equivalent of a cabin. I feel like that's the best descriptor for it. They're basic. They're nice. They're very nice, but it's like you got a bed, you have everything sort of very compact. There's like a little stove top and a little mini fridge. You have your own bathroom, but they have these things in these very remote areas. For example, I went and stayed on a mountain in the Chattahoochee National Forest in North Georgia, and it was fucking phenomenal. I did not see or speak to another human being for 2 days. And it was everything I wanted it to be.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, honestly, I loved it. I'm definitely going to be going again at some point. I'm going to try to check out some of their other outposts because they have, I think, 2 other southeastern locations that are pretty close to me. So going to do that. But I highly recommend it. And my God, solo travel is highly underrated. And if you get a chance to solo travel, you should take it. So good for you.
Yeah.
Amen. I love that you did this by yourself, with all due respect to Mark. Like sometimes you just got to get away from people. And especially in a very serene, peaceful setting like this, being by yourself, that sounds great.
That must have been so nice.
It was wonderful. And Mark, that's not his vibe. So he was just as happy to stay. And I mean, I know it's not his vibe, so I'm not going to pressure him into going. He was just as happy to stay at home in the AC with the dog.
And the PS5.
I was going to ask if you took Canelo with you.
No, she would hate it.
Okay,
so I left her at home. But you can take dogs.
Yeah,
they allow dogs, and it's like $50,
you know,
to add a dog
it is.
on.
And you get dog bowls, you get a dog treat, a leash line is attached to the picnic table. I don't know if yours had that, but yeah, they have you all set up for a dog too.
Actually, after I realized, I went back snooping through some friends' Instagram profiles because like the interior of what you guys showed me of your cabins looked really familiar. And I do have some friends that have used this up in the Pacific Northwest, and they've gone specifically when it's snowing and it looks beautiful. Highly recommend. I mean, I haven't gone, but like it looks amazing just to be out there in the snow in the middle of the woods.
God.
So
that sounds
just a little
beautiful.
Little idea for the both of you. I don't think there is a location near me or I would try this out.
There isn't. There's only one in California, which I think is so stupid. They need to add more.
Yeah, there's a lot of places to camp over here.
And reminder about my recommendation on top of the getaway house, use the cabin packs. You see it at the top of the site, the nav bar. 3 consecutive nights over the weekend for $500. If you try to book the normal way, the prices are going to be a lot higher. And I'm looking at LA. The prices might be different depending on where you... Oh, yeah. I mean, Laura is $400 for 3 nights. That's a great price for what you get.
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about ours, Laura, since Pat and I went, and I'm dying to go back. I'm tempted to do this 6-night one. Just be gone for a week by myself, and I'll bring Brooklyn because he doesn't hate it.
Aww.
Make sure you're following the show in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
To stay in touch with us, email millennialshow@gmail.com or visit millennialshow.com. While there, you'll also find the links to our various social media channels, so please do give us a follow. And Spotify users can also leave feedback directly within an episode.
After Dark, Surprise Bitch Edition starts in a moment. Thanks, pals, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Bye, y'all.
Everyone.